And the accident could have been so much worse because I landed in really big rocks. You know, and you can't really tell how big this rock is. I mean, that's a big rock. But I totally face planted a rock that was twice as big as that. Literally face planted.
Right on, Jewel. Let your spirit be free with the wind at your back.
Hey, I told you I knew where I was.
Sing loud, Jewel. Let your heart be your guide in the depths of the thunder. It's your rant and your ride.
Alrighty, so I did a injury update video, I think just 2 days ago, maybe 3 days ago. Today's Monday. And so my update from last time, I was waiting, you know, for this wrist brace, which has total thumb support all the way down my wrist, besides the palm support. So yes, I can hold on to the handlebar really good now. It still hurts, you know. I'm sure if I impact it against some bumps and stuff, it would still owie pretty good. I can raise my seat, but pushing that with my thumb is doable, but it's really hard to do. So no, I'm not gonna be raising and lowering my seat yet, because you know, even over the last couple of days, there's been more improvement. You know, it's slowly, well, I think it's rapidly coming along, because it's only been 2 weeks and 2 days, right, since I injured it. But slowly every day is a little bit improvement. You know, because it's a thumb injury, you don't realize how much stuff you actually do with your thumb until you injure that thumb or sprain it. And then you find out how much you actually use that thumb. You know, I'm a gamer also, so yeah, even playing games, half of what you do, I almost felt like, wow, even more than half of what I do with that thumb, you know, in gaming or whatever. But you really can't do, yeah, I can go down this now, I think. You really can't do without your thumb very well, as you all know. Okay. My foot, you know, it was really hard to get the swelling down. I'd put ice on it every day, which would bring down the swelling a tiny bit. And then, you know, after you're up and on it and walking around, of course it would kind of go back to being swelled up. I've just since yesterday, I think there's a pretty good improvement on that. And how that came about was I was helping my friend Greg with his motorcycle, and when we were all finished, he mentioned, he said, hey, have you heard of this cream? You know, that's actually an arthritis relieving cream. You know, so I guess, you know, what it targets is inflammation in the joints or whatever, and then of course that would reduce pain. Well, so I tried that out. He gave me a little bit. I put it on my hand and I put it on my foot. Well, as I mentioned in my last video, there really isn't any more swelling in my hand and wrist. There's bruising, but you know, my hand and wrist is just sore because I've pounded all those ligaments and everything. That's where the pain's coming from, not from inflammation. So it really didn't deal with any pain in my hand, but amazingly on my foot, I mean, by the time I left his house and got home to my house and went to put ice on my foot, the swelling was already decreased about a third. I was like, no way. So it did target the inflammation in my foot, and it did decrease the pain in my foot that was associated with the inflammation. It didn't take all the pain away, but what was there from the swelling, it dealt with that. So that's a good thing. So maybe, you know, the swelling's on a turnaround on the foot also. It's still swollen, didn't take it all out, but it's half of what it was yesterday. So anyway, that's the injury report. You know, my thumb injury could, maybe, probably, it's gonna take 6 weeks, who knows. You know, because that injury goes all the way down to my elbow. You know, so even with these braces in here, you know, I still feel that pain all the way down here to my elbow. Even with the braces, it's just... So the bruising on my arm has gotten a lot better, but who knows, you know, out here riding even with the brace, and I'm putting pressure in there in between my thumb and my hand, may cause the bruising to come back. But with that said, and I mentioned it 2 videos ago, you know, injury is physical and pain is spiritual. And that goes in relationship to healing, right? So, you know, it's a mental battle, a spiritual battle you're healing, and what you do with that pain. You know, my word out there is not to succumb to the pain. Don't let the pain win over you. You know, do things to deal with the pain, hopefully without doing pain medication, drugs. You know, I don't I didn't go get x-rays. I didn't go visit the hospital or the doctors. I don't take pain drugs. You know, if I wake up, which I do, it's not every time, but if I continually wake up in the early hours of the morning and I can't go back to sleep, I'll take a couple ibuprofen. It seems like it helps. It doesn't take the pain away, but it seems like it helps so I can get a couple more hours of sleep. But I only do that. I don't take it during the day. I can deal with this stuff during the day, you know, because you're out moving around, you're doing stuff. Your focus isn't on the pain, it's on activity. When I first did the injury, I told you I ignored my foot. Yeah, it hurt. It still hurts, but I pretty much ignored it because, you know, the majority of the pain's right here. And I feel the majority of the healing's got to come right here, right? I could put my foot in a boot and ride my motorcycle, but I can't ride my motorcycle till I can pull a clutch. So I don't have a Recluse automatic clutch anymore on any of my motorcycles, so I got to be able to pull a clutch. So my message there, going along with what I just said, is you know, do what you have to do to make yourself mobile without totally causing re-injury. You know, if I get black and blue down the arm again because I'm using this thumb, and I don't see that as re-injury. I just see it as you know, I'm keeping that thumb mobile. It puts stress on it, but you know, it's gonna get stronger every time. That's why I bought the brace, so you don't totally re-injure the injury, but you're staying mobile. Yeah. You know, healing is mental. You have up days and you have down days. I mean, I went along for the last 2 weeks, and from one day to the next, you know, I'd have a tough night sleeping, but you wake up the next morning and go, wow, I didn't sleep very well, but actually I've got pretty good improvement on the healing part. And then the next day you feel like you went backwards. You're like, okay, what happened here? Yesterday I was feeling so good. Today I feel like I went backwards on my healing, but so it's a mental thing. You know, so for me, you know, my main doctor for healing and pain management, that's Dr. Jesus. Hallelujah. You go to Jesus first. First things first. Run to Jesus. Okay? There, you know, in the accident could have been so much worse because I landed in really big rocks. You know, and you can't really tell how big this rock is. I mean, that's a big rock. But I totally face planted a rock that was twice as big as that. Literally face planted. I mean, when I hit it and I was laying there staring at the rock, I was like shocked. I'm like, am I okay? Is my face okay? Is my camera okay? I totally expected my camera to be blown into bits because it's mounted on the front of my helmet. I damaged my visor. I didn't break it, but I damaged my visor and my shield. If I didn't have the shield in, maybe I would have had a broken nose if I was just wearing goggles. But the shield, of course, kept my nose and everything from hitting that rock. I explained in my last video why this hand and this thumb has gotten injured over and over and over in my motorcycle wrecks throughout the years. And again, I'll explain that. It's kind of like, you know, this grip over here is your throttle and it moves. This grip over here does not move, and you lock into it, usually in this position, not this position up here. So when you impact something or you face plant your motorcycle, this hand is opened up like this, so it releases the grip like this. This hand's still locked in. You're holding on, and you probably do a death grip when you're crashing. So this thumb, this hand takes all the impact, right? So, because I've totally broken this thumb off my hand, and they had to pin it back on in one of my accidents, and I broke the handlebars in half, snapped them, because of course I didn't let go of the handlebars until I was eating dirt with my face. But so I figured that out, and something else I figured out, which probably contributed to 80 or 90% of my accident. So yesterday, I haven't really done anything with my Husky. You know, I went to my friend's shop after the accident. That's as far as we could get it. My trailer was, I couldn't get to my trailer to bring it home. So we took it to a shop. And then from there, I think I went in a couple days later, and my handlebar controls, you know, were misaligned. And I just kind of did a once over, walk around the bike, and I aligned my controls up, and that was it, you know. And then we brought the bike home. It's in the garage, and I haven't really looked at it until yesterday. Didn't wash it. It still needs to be cleaned. Well, to my surprise, the day before that ride, I put a new rear tire on. I had both new tires for the rear and the front. Man, it's in the morning here Monday, but it is going to be a hot one today. I think it's already in the high 70s right now. I mean, I've got, you know, I've got long johns on, but it's hot. It is going to be a scorcher today, so. And there's no wind yet. Okay, so back to the motorcycle. So anyway, I got it home, haven't cleaned it up, haven't really done anything with it, but yesterday, I was kind of messing around with it yesterday morning. Just looking at how many scratches I put on it, because I didn't really, even though the Husqvarna is well capable of doing single track, you know, I built it for desert. So it's built around desert riding because that's the kind of riding I do. And the gas is my toy. I didn't buy it, so I didn't buy the gas so I could start a new career in single track, but I got it in case there'd be rides like I just did on the Husqvarna. You know, I'd take the gas. Well, that didn't happen, but anyway. I was inspecting the Husqvarna yesterday morning. I have what's called a tubeless system in my tires on the Husqvarna. And what that means is the tubeless system has an inner bladder, a small one, that goes around the rim before you put the tire on. And that inner bladder is small. It holds 110 pounds. And what it does is when you put the tire on, the carcass, it seals the carcass against the rim and makes the tire tubeless. So if you get a nail or something in the outer tire, you could plug it with a plug or put slime in it. And if you didn't have that stuff available, you could actually ride that flat tire home at a moderate speed, a slow speed, and ride it all the way home and then fix it. Well, guess what? Yeah, guess what? My front tire was flat. So during the ride, when I was riding with my friend, we were talking back and forth when we would stop to make direction changes, and he'd say, how's it going? And we'd have our little conversation. I'd say, I don't know, something just doesn't feel right. I know I didn't put a new front tire on with the back tire, which I usually do. It could be that, but something just feels off. It's just not feeling right. So during that whole ride, I just felt something was off. Well, yeah, the front tire was flat. Not like it would be flat on a regular motorcycle tire without the tubeless system, but flat. So I believe that is why I crashed, because it was flat. I was compromised. There was no pressure in the outer tire. The inner tire, I checked that. The inner smaller tube was fully inflated, but the tire, the outer carcass had no air in it. Flat. So anyway, that's what I figured out. Because, I kept mulling it over. I'm no single track guru. I don't have that much experience on single track. Blah, 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 blah. But I ride all the time, so when you go down, all of a sudden you're like, what happened? Right? Because you're out in the dirt riding all the time, right? It's just like right here. If I crashed right now and the front end went out, I'd be like, hey, what happened? And then you find out the front tire lost all its air. So, kind of like that. So anyway, that's my injury report. I would say if you're healing from an injury, or if we all ride, if you ride mountain bike or dirt bike, you know, you should plan on maybe at some point sustaining an injury. So maybe you can grab something out of what I'm saying. That'll help you in recovery. You know, I've laid in bed, I've sat around the house more than I would if I wasn't injured. You probably all know that from watching my videos. You know, but getting things like this to make me more mobile. You know, I wouldn't ride in this dirt and these rocks and the bumps a week ago because, you know, I didn't have something to support this thumb down my wrist. So I can still feel it when I hit these bumps. You know, it's still doing pain down my thumb, down my arm to my elbow, but you know, it's not like so sharp a pain I can't deal with it. And it may cause bruising on my arm again just from doing this, but that's not gonna stop me from doing this. I'm gonna keep staying mobile because that's the mental part of healing. You do as much as you can, right? It makes you feel, even though I'm braced up, you know, it gives you a good feeling that you're able to cope until you're fully healed. All right. So I know this video is going to be another 30-minute long video, but I just hope somebody gets something out of that. And if you're dealing with an injury, I just pray that you're healed in Jesus' name, and that your pain is dealt with. Jesus is the great painkiller. You know, in the old days, when I had injuries and I had to do surgeries and stuff, and you know, they'd always prescribe you codeine 3 or whatever. That stuff never worked. Not for me. Never did a darn thing. So, you know, I'd just throw it away. It's like, or not get the script at all. You know, it's like worthless. So back then, what was my big painkiller, or my deal that helped me heal, was NyQuil. Yeah, NyQuil. You know, and then there again, I could deal with the stuff most of the time during the day when you're awake, but you want to be able to sleep, right? Anyway, I'm grateful to God that I can deal with the pain that I have. It's not always fun, you know, and it will wear on your psyche. It'll wear on your mentality. I got a bug in my glasses. Cool. It will do that. You know, one day it feels really good and you're like, ooh, you know, that doesn't hurt so much. And the next day it's like, wow, hurts a lot more today than it did yesterday. So, tomorrow I may, God willing, you know, I plan on a longer trip on the mountain bike, of course. I may go up. Como's pretty rocky. I don't know if I'll go up Como because it's a pretty rocky ride. I might go up to where it starts getting really rocky and then turn around. I may ride up the El Dorado Road until the beginning of El Dorado and turn around. Just give you a little different scenery. Maybe yeah, I might even do that. I might load my bike up and take it up to Kings Canyon. Kings Canyon is pretty mellow for me and for the mountain bike at this point. So I may go up Kings Canyon. Lots of good scenery up there, the pine trees and the water, and yeah, good for healing. So anyway, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, make some comments, whatever you make comments to. Some of them are pretty funny. I like keeping the funny ones, telling me what I should post or what I should call my videos. I'm like, well, it's my video. Get over it. But thanks. We're gonna get home, plug the bike in for tomorrow, and take the Princess Rose out on her date day with her papa. Hallelujah. All right. I know, well, I had another rant, but yeah, we'll catch that tomorrow probably. You know. Some of you people probably like, hey, just shut up, quit ranting and just ride. But you know, I'm a complainer. I'm a ranter. I am a ranter. Yeah, so I'm gonna go up this steep hill over here. But yeah, the wrist brace is, I was a little bit concerned, you know, because it kind of locks your thumb in right there. You know, and actually when you're holding on to handlebars, your thumb is lower than where it's locked in with this brace, but I gotta turn my wrist a little bit to lock my thumb in, but it works. It works as good as I was hoping it to. And I can actually push the seat button, but I'm not gonna do that because it's a pretty darn hard push. I'm not gonna try to re-injure my thumb by pushing on my seat. To raise and lower my seat. I did it once when I started this ride. I'm like, okay, well, I can push it, but it's a pretty hard push. And I could feel it, right? I don't need to try and re-injure my thumb. So, woohoo! That's the other thing. Here we go. Here's another subject, right? So that's another argument for e-assisted mountain bikes, right? Because even when you are injured, you can get out here and exercise, right? I mean, you could do that without an e-assisted mountain bike, but you'd be fighting it more. And it would be causing you more anxiety because you'd be trying to, you know, fight the mountain bike. So it's just really cool. All right, what can I say? Love you guys. We'll see how it is tomorrow. See if my arm bruises again from doing this ride. But if it does, whatever. Alrighty.